Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. I know it's been a little while since I've dropped one. I'm actually at Summer League right now, which is why the background, the lighting, everything looks super off. Hopefully it's all okay enough for this video, which, by the way, is going to be kind of unstructured. I'm completely exhausted. It's 2:23 a.m. as I'm recording this here in Las Vegas, where, again, I'm at Summer League, and I'm from the East Coast, living up in New York City right now. So technically for me, on my usual time, it's 5:23 a.m., so I am completely tired, but I've been getting the itch to make videos. I hate that I haven't uploaded for a few days, but Summer League has been super fun. I mean, I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people. I got to meet the Through the Wire guys. Shout out to them. Super cool to link up with all of them finally. I've met Kenny a couple of times, working with him to enjoy basketball, but this is the first chance I got to link up with all of them, which was cool. Here with my guy Jacob Rusty Buckets, Alex Hoops, among some others. Got to meet Dom, Click, Denver, my guy, Double D Worth. Been super fun to meet all these people, and I'm kind of wanting to talk about a little bit of some of the players that have really impressed me so far in Summer League. There have been a ton of names, and I'm not going to get to every name in this video. Shout Orlando Robinson, who had a 30 bomb the other day. I just kind of have some over here on the side that have specifically impressed me at the games that I've been at, getting to see them in person, that I really want to note in this video. If there's not someone I mentioned, maybe I'll make a part 2 of this Summer League overreactions, I think is what I'm going to call it, or something like that. Just overall reacting to Summer League. If you want to see more of these type of videos, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about some of the players that have been the most impressive so far. Obviously, the first guy I think you all want me to talk about is Victor Wembanyama. The first game was rough. Again, being there in person. First of all, the atmosphere was ridiculous. I've spoken to a lot of people who have been to 6, 7 Summer Leagues. This is my second one, so I don't have that much experience. But I've spoken to people like my guys over at No Ceilings who have been here and done this a million times, and they said that this Summer League in particular, they've never seen anything like it. The hype around it, the energy, and it's mostly because of Vic. Waiting for him to go on and play in that first game, which was kind of extended because the game before, Rockets, I think it was Rockets Blazers, where Jabari Smith Jr., who we're going to talk about, hit that game winner. That was a bunch of fouling, and it was back and forth. I mean, it was an amazing end and everything, but you could tell there was an energy in the air as that game got closer and closer to finishing. And then when Vic came out, the crowd roared. Everything he did in warm-ups, people were getting hype. Every time he touched the ball, the crowd was going crazy. It was in the bigger arena. If you didn't know, for Summer League, there's a bigger arena, and then a smaller court off to the side that's kind of more like a high school gym. It's a really cool environment. I like going over there a lot. But this was in the big arena, and the seats are really never full, and the tickets are never sold out, but tickets were sold out. Basically, the entire arena was packed. I got lucky enough to get a seat in the lower bowl. I was not lucky enough to get one for his second game. I was up in the 200 section, but I mean, he's 7'3", so even though there was a bit of a railing in my way, I could still see everything he was doing down there. But yeah, game one was rough. Kind of was not getting into a rhythm. He was falling over quite a bit, which I feel like a lot of players have. I don't know if the court's just slippery out there or something like that, but I feel like, I know Chet was falling a lot. As a Thunder fan, we're going to talk a lot about Chet and Cason Wallace's debut. I promise you that. But even outside of those big, tall guys, I've seen so many guys falling over. So I don't know if the courts are slippery, if it's just, a physical brain of basketball that a lot of these young guys are getting used to, so they're getting bumped out of the way. But it wasn't a great game for Victor. And I never look too much into how bigs perform in Summer League, because this really isn't an environment where they're going to thrive. Summer League is when you go out and play pickup hoops, the big isn't going to be the dominant guy. It's the guards that have, elite ball handling skills that can knock down outside shots. It's those wings. The bigs aren't really the guys who are typically the most utilized in those environments. And with a number of Summer League rosters, they just don't have those high-level playmakers like NBA teams do. When Vic gets over and plays with Trey Jones, he's going to make a world of difference. But game 2, he was a lot better. And the one thing that carried over from game 1 to game 2 that was consistent across the board was the defense. I mean, the rim protection is unbelievable. Guys would start to try and attack the rim and be like, I'm not going anywhere near that guy because he's going to block me. But the offensive consistency really built up in the second game. I mean, he was grabbing offensive boards, going right back up and dunking on people. He was knocking down some jumpers. He knocked down, I believe, a couple of threes. The game got close at the end. He almost pulled them back. I think he ended up with 27 points. He was amazing. And this is exactly what you expect from Victor. This game-changing size, the ability to just shoot over people. There were some guys out there who were getting incredible contests. I think Jabari Walker in particular on the Blazers had one where if there was anybody else in the world, he would have blocked them. But because it's Vic, there's nothing he could do. And I think he ended up fouling him. He just hit him a little bit on the wrist. But just the extension is ridiculous. There was one layup that he took. Hopefully I can find a clip of it to show in the video. But the layup that he missed, it was if you've seen that scene from Space Jam where Michael Jordan jumps from the the half court line and dunks the ball, his arm was like that. Like, it just kept extending. Like, he went up and then went under again, and it was just unbelievable. Like, the hype is there, the skill set, you saw it, the generational type defense, the ball handling, the ability to knock down shots. He really got in his rhythm. And there were a lot of people, you know, some of them were joking, like a lot of people were talking about how he was a bust and how he wasn't going to thrive in this league and things like that. There were some genuinely serious people, but I hope game 2 showed that that was all for nothing. I don't know if Vic's going to play anymore. I think he showed with this game 2 what he's capable of. He kind of got some of those reps. You don't want to risk injury, and I really think this game 2 shows you exactly what Vic can do. If you're not someone who followed him throughout the draft and just heard the word generational again and again, this is what he can do. It's the rim deterrence, it's the shot blocking, the rebounding, just being a 7'3" guy out there. There was one time where he dunked and I swear he just stood on his tippy toes. Like, I don't even know if he left the ground. It's just unbelievable to see Vic in person. If you're anywhere near San Antonio, or if your favorite team is going to play San Antonio at some point this season, go out and see Vic play. Like, it is an incredible experience. You truly understand what makes him generational when you watch him go out there and play. Of course, you know, there's like the step back threes and stuff like that, being a 7-footer or like 7'3", 7'5", basically. But actually seeing him play, it's like a whole nother thing. So shout out to Victor Wembanyama. I'm glad he silenced a lot of the doubters. It was really annoying discourse out in the timeline after game 1. Game 2, he was electric, lived up to all the hype. And again, like, he's got Summer League energized. He's bringing so much hype and attention to the NBA. A couple of my Uber drivers were asking, like, did you see that Victor guy play? They're like, I'm not that big of a basketball fan, but I've heard his name again and again just watching like sports shows or things like that. Like, was he any good? Like, it's bringing so many people. Like, again, people that I talked to said this was the craziest summer league they've ever been to. So shout out to Victor Wembanyama, everything that he did. Game 2 was incredible. Yeah, I mean, he's going to be one of those guys that, you know, we talk about, I think, eventually as one of the all-time greats, in my opinion. And the defense is going to be there from day one. The offensive production is going to get better as he plays with better playmakers. Yeah, shout out to Vic. Other guys I want to talk about, kind of staying in the Southwest Division, is some of the Rockets guys. I made it known in this channel I wasn't the biggest fan of their free agency, but their young core is still electric. And Jabari Smith Jr. is someone that I feel like too many people gave up on after one season, being a guy that was very young. I think he was 18 when he got drafted, if not 18 then 19. I believe he's 20 at this point. Jabari was, you know, a couple years younger than me, and he was out there in an NBA court on a team in the Rockets who didn't really have an elite facilitator out there. You know, Kevin Porter Jr. is playing the point guard spot, but I think I've also made it well known on this channel that I don't think KPJ is really a long-term fit at the PG position. So there wasn't a ton of playmaking, and it just really wasn't a great brand of basketball over there in Houston. But I mean, in the Summer League, he looked great next to Amin Thompson. Again, he hit that game winner and he was looking really good. I think he had like 18 points in a quarter. I'm going to talk about Amin as well in a moment when I talk about him and his twin brother, because they've both looked really good in the time that they've played. Amin, unfortunately, dealing with the ankle injury, which prevented the two of them from playing against each other today. Super disappointed about that, but, you know, it's way more important that he gets healthy for the season. Super excited to see him play. But, you know, Amin was setting up well. But even not getting set up, Jabari just looks like a completely different player out here. He's cutting really well. He's attacking the basket off the dribble. He had a couple really good finishes around the rim. Of course, he's knocking down shots, whether it's in the mid-range, it's from 3. The defense looks solid. Jabari's looked great. This is the player that the Rockets were hoping they would get when they drafted him 3rd overall. I'm hoping he's able to take that leap. I think it's potentially in there with him. And, you know, having a playmaker like Fred VanVleet, like Amin Thompson out there, it's going to help him out a lot, especially if the other guys develop. Tari Eason also looked phenomenal out there. He really does not need to play any more Summer League. Just a constant hustle guy. He was knocking down threes. He was aggressive continuously. The defense, the tenacity. He just feels like one of those players that gives the team an edge. Like just a winning type of player who's going to make those plays that just boost your team up. And he also seems like a great teammate out there. Like the chemistry between him, Jabari Smith Jr., the other guys out there. Like you can see it building over time, which is super cool, I'm sure, for Rockets fans. I've been really impressed with what they've done, both Jabari Smith and Tari Eason. I'm hoping for big jumps from both of them, but particularly Jabari Smith. I think with a playmaker and another offseason of reps, just going into his second season now, I think Jabari's got the chance to do big things in his second year, completely dispelling all the narratives that people had around him in year one, that he was a bust from the get-go, which is always just way too premature with these guys. Real quick before we get back to the Rockets, talk about Amin Thompson and his twin brother, I gotta talk about Scoot. I have made it incredibly known on this channel that I think Scoot Also has potential to be a generational guy at the point guard position. I think he's one of the best athletes that we've seen at that spot in a really long time, what he brings to the table. And he showed all of that in Summer League. A guy who just the ability to shift gears almost immediately. He'll just be jogging up the court and all of a sudden it's like a blur. You blink and he's at the rim. He's dunking on someone. He's making a hyper athletic play. He's playmaking for others. He scored a lot in the first half in his one game. He was another guy that hurt his shoulder, and so he's sitting out, which makes complete sense. Unfortunate that we didn't get to see him and Vic go against each other, but that'll happen many times throughout their career, both being in the Western Conference. It's going to be incredibly fun in those moments, but just the playmaking, even when he wasn't scoring, like the ability to get to his spots too, even if the jumper wasn't falling, he was getting exactly where he wanted to go. He put so much pressure on the defense. They had to make immediate, multiple rotations when Scoot was in transition because there was just no way to stop him from getting to the basket. And if he got to the basket and didn't like his look, he was making an incredible dime to a teammate. Having Scoot, Shaedon Sharpe, who had a really solid first game. The second game, he was rough today. I think he started off 0 for 10, 0 for 12 or something like that. Shaedon's going to be really good, in my opinion. And starting a rebuild with Scoot, with Shaedon Sharpe, with Anthony Simons, who is incredible in his own right. And also, whatever you get back from Damian Lillard in this trade that we're still waiting to hear about where he gets dealt. But that group of guys to start your rebuild is so special. Portland from day one is going to have one of the best young cores in the entire league. They're so well set up for a rebuild. It's why I've been saying time and time again that I think now you've got to go ahead and trade Damian Lillard. You can't let this thing go on any longer. They got Scoot Henderson, who again I said probably should have gone second overall. We'll talk a bit about Brandon Miller later on, but Scoot to me is one of those guys. I think he's going to be incredibly special. And the Blazers went from Damian Lillard and NBA 75 point guard, a Hall of Famer, to now a guy in Scoot Henderson, who I also think could reach that level one day. He is just so much fun to watch. Another guy, if you have the opportunity to go watch your favorite team play the Blazers, or if you're in Portland, go watch Scoot Henderson play because the athleticism, he just levitates out there. And the speed, again, you blink, he's at the rim, he's making a play for a teammate. Just having him as a cornerstone for Portland for so many years in the future is an unbelievable beginning to this new era when you trade Dame. On that note, I want to touch on the Thompson twins. Again, as I mentioned, Amen Thompson out after game one with that ankle injury, but just another incredible athlete. Like I said with Scoot Henderson, he would jump and it felt like he levitated. I really thought there were sometimes he would just never come down, but the athleticism, the speed out there, both him and his twin brother Asar, they are very clearly the fastest guys out on the court almost any moment that they're out there. Amen's playmaking, I think, is going to be huge for this young Rockets team. I really like some of the defensive plays that I saw as well. I think he got quite a few steals and blocks. Asar Thompson, same kind of thing. I was kind of getting frustrated for him because I feel like the Pistons guards were just not getting him the ball a lot of times. One of the games, it was in the first half, and then the second half, it was kind of more they were just integrating a bit more into the offense, and then the other game was vice versa. So he kind of had a couple of good halves, but I think Asar is going to be really good in that system. I like what he brings to the table alongside Cade and Jaden Ivey. I was really impressed with both of them so far. Again, sucks that we didn't get to see the battle between the two of them with Amen and Asar, but we're going to see that many times over the course of their careers. And those are two more guys that from this draft class that I think are going to be bona fide stars in this league and make big impacts from day one. Next, I've got to go ahead and talk about my Thunder guys, Cason Wallace and Chet Holmgren. We'll start with Cason, who's only played one game up to this point, but in that game, he was so good. I mean, he shot 6 of 10 from deep. He was making high-level defensive plays. He was making great reads in transition, dealing with the teammates. Incredible pick. I said the second we made it that I loved the Cason Wallace pick. In the days leading up to the draft, he became one of my favorite prospects. I'm so glad we had him. So many Thunder fans overreacted saying we need a big. I think it's pretty clear from Summer League that Chet is very clearly best suited for the 5, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But Cason, the defense that he brings, the hustle, just another high-level guard on this team that I think, again, like I mentioned for a couple of these guys, is going to make an impact from day one on this Thunder team that's trying to take the leap after just barely missing the playoffs. We want to go ahead and make the playoffs this upcoming year. I think we very well can, and I think Cason is going to bring a lot to the table in that regard. Him coming into the fold defensively alongside Chet, I think we're going to be a top 10 defense in the league this upcoming season. I think we were 13th this past year. I think it's very realistic that adding one of the best rim protectors, one of the best young rim protectors in the league in Chet and a high-level defender like Cason could absolutely help us get up there to top 10. And not to mention the three-point shooting, which was something some people were concerned about when he was coming into the league. And maybe it still is an issue. It's only one summer league game. But I do think it was a bit overblown. He was dealing with a back injury, I believe it was, throughout part of his collegiate season. So that kind of helped tank his numbers a little bit. I think Cason's going to be a really solid three-point shooter out there. He looked incredibly confident. He was taking them in rhythm. There were a couple that were off the dribble. They were catch and shoot ones. He's going to get all type of looks playing alongside Shea and Giddey. And I really think Cason's going to be super good in this league. Again, loved the pick when it happened. Love it even more after watching him in this first game. Chet, meanwhile, it's the typical stuff that Chet's been doing this entire summer league, what he did back at Gonzaga. Elite rim protector, like I mentioned with Vic. Guys see Chet at the rim, they don't want to go in there. He's going to rack up so many blocks over the course of this season. Adding that rim protection to this roster is incredible, because that was one of our biggest problems this past season, is that we just didn't have a lot of big guys. Jay Will's playing a lot of the center, and I believe he's like 6'9". Chet is a legitimate 7-footer, a rim protector. People are worried about him being too skinny. I don't think that's going to be an issue with him out there. Again, a lot of people bring up the argument, how's he going to guard Embiid? How's he going to guard Jokic? Nobody can guard those guys. There's not a single person in the world that consistently can guard Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, two MVP caliber players. I'm not worried about that. Watching Chet out there, like his weak side defense, his shot blocking, his rim protection, just the deterrence is all so much more valuable at the 5 spot rather than the 4. It's very clear in my opinion that Chet needs to play the 5 consistently. I think he will. I think he's going to be really good at it from day one. He's going to make such a big impact. The offense too, I thought is like pretty solid. The free throw shooting has been a bit hit or miss at times, but again, he hasn't played in over a year. Just kind of now getting back into the swing of things. It's similar with his 3-point shot where he's been missing a lot of looks that he typically knocks down. Same with some mid-range jumpers and stuff. But overall, I've been incredibly impressed with Chet, especially defensively. I think the offense will get a lot easier when he's got Shea and Giddey out there alongside him, both playmaking for him and taking some of the pressure off. Again, bigs don't typically thrive that much in Summer League, but I've been super impressed with what I've seen from Chet so far. Him and Cason have both killed it. A lot of the young guys too. Shout to Trey Mann, who has really shown out after a bunch of Thunder fans gave up on him. Really rooting for Trey to make the roster and make a big impact this upcoming season. I think he can, and it's super cool to see him balling out there. Keyonte George for Utah has been amazing. One of the most impressive players in my opinion. He had a 30-piece last game. I think he had another great game. He looked good in Utah when he's playing against the Thunder. I think he's going to be great. Like, he brings such an interesting new dynamic to that Jazz team that's looking for guards of the future. They've got like Lauri Markkanen, they've got Walker Kessler, John Collins, who they brought into the fold, which I completely forgot about until I got jump scared by a John Collins Utah jersey swap on my timeline the other day on Twitter. So that was a very interesting experience. But like, they've got some front court guys, but they're trying to figure out the guards. Jordan Clarkson is getting a bit older at this point for being considered part of a young core. Like, he's not old, but he's not like your shooting guard of the future, in my opinion. They've got Taylor Horton-Tucker back, who looked solid sometimes at guard last season, but they're still trying to find like those guys. And I mean, Keyonte George, he looks like one of those guys, like the buckets that he's getting, the way that he's setting up some teammates. I thought he's tried to compete really well defensively. He is a bit of a smaller guard compared to some of the other ones out there. So he's getting pushed around a little bit, but I mean, he's at least trying his hardest to hold his own. And I like that. I like that effort from Keyonte George. I've just become a big fan watching over the course of Summer League. Again, I liked the pick a lot when Utah made it because I kind of knew a good bit about his game, but seeing it out there now in Summer League, I think Keyonte is going to be a special type of player. I believe I tweeted these exact words out, but I'm all in on Keyonte George. I'm buying a bunch of stock in him. I really think he's going to be super good. One of the front runners for Summer League MVP at this point, up there with like Jabari Smith Jr., but I think Jabari is probably going to get shut down after this past game, so maybe Keyonte ends up going out there and winning it, which would be super cool. Utah is really building something special over there. I love their draft. I'm loving it even more now, watching him play. Hopefully Bryce Sensabaugh and Taylor Hendricks are able to play at some point. I don't know their exact injury status, but yeah, I mean, I already thought the Jazz were one of the biggest winners of the draft. I only feel better about that now. And finally, I want to touch on Brandon Miller, who has not had a great summer league so far. There's been a lot of fouling. The efficiency's been really rough. He's just not looked great. And again, I've made it well known that I thought Scoot should have been the second overall pick, but I still want to see Brandon Miller succeed. Like, I don't want to see anybody struggle. It's been rough out there. I don't think it helps that the Hornets, as I mentioned, like, there's not a lot of elite playmakers in the summer league. I think Brandon Miller is going to be fine once he gets to Charlotte and he's got like a playmaker like LaMelo playing alongside him. I think that's going to make a world of difference. I think Brandon Miller is going to be fine. I am a bit worried about some of these things, like some of the shots that he's not hitting that I thought he might. Some of the moments out there where he just doesn't look very comfortable. But again, I mean, he's one of the youngest players in the league. Like, he is really young, similar to Jabari Smith Jr. It makes no sense to give up on a player after summer league games, even after one season. Even if Brandon Miller struggles this season, don't give up on these types of players because he has so much potential. There's a reason why he was in consideration to go not first overall because Vic was there, but there's a reason that it was a debate. But in the Hornets organization, where they should go Brandon Miller, they should go Scoot. They went with Brandon Miller. I'm rooting for him. I hope he really kind of figures it out. It hasn't looked good so far. I mean, he's really struggled. The inefficiency's been rough. The fouling, again, has been an issue. He said, and I think in Instagram Live, if y'all had 10 fouls, you would use them too. So maybe it's just a little bit of that. But ultimately, I think he's going to be fine once he gets a playmaker like LaMelo, once he gets into a true NBA roster. I think he's going to be pretty good. We'll see what ends up happening. Again, I don't want to overreact too much, even though I think this video is going to be overreacting to Summer League. But I think Brandon Miller will be fine. I don't think he's an immediate bust like everybody's saying. And yeah, I think that's everything that I want to go through. Again, I'm sorry if I didn't talk about some of your favorite players. Anthony Black was another player that I was impressed by. Love what I saw from him. Jet Howard I thought was solid too. The duo out there in Orlando. A number of other guys. Jarris Walker at the defense. I like some of what I saw from Bilal Coulibaly. If there's any player you want me to give you my thoughts on that I've seen so far, let me know in the comment section below. There's a million other names that I could talk about. But again, this video is getting kind of long. I've been rambling and now it's 2:49 a.m. So it's nearly 6 a.m. out there on the East Coast where I'm from. So my body's kind of shutting down. I think I'll probably edit this in the video, get this out to y'all. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this one. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Also, I want to give y'all a ton of thanks if any of you were at Summer League. A ton of people walked up and said, hey, I watch your videos. I follow you on Twitter. Like, can I get a picture type thing? It was super surreal. Every time I meet somebody who says they know me, like a guy who just talks about basketball on the internet, it blows my mind. I cannot thank y'all enough for the continued love and support on this channel. Helping me get this as like a career at the moment is super surreal. I can't believe I talk about basketball like as work. It's mind-blowing. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I cannot thank you enough for what y'all have done for me, allowing me to do things like this. For all of you that said hey to me at Summer League, I'm going to be out there today as this video is going up. So if you're seeing this, if you're at Summer League, definitely come through and say hi. If you see me, I would love to go ahead and talk with you for a little bit. And yeah, appreciate y'all as always. Again, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Comment down below who's been your most impressive guy in Summer League so far. And again, if there's any players you want me to talk about, let me know that too. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. A real one, say it back.